everyone. Today I am filming my first little vlog. Today's the first day I've had the chance to have like a full sewing day. So right now I'm out and about. I went to the thrift store to look for any fabric or sewing items, and now I'm headed to Hobby Lobby. There's a few things I'm running out of. I need some more thread and some more fusible interfacing. So I'm gonna grab those. I'll show you what I got, and I'll show you some of the things that I'm working on today. Thank you so much for watching. Hey everyone, so I just got finished shopping. I'm gonna show you what I got. So at Goodwill I picked up this pair of jeans for $5.99. And then I also found this little sweater. This is just for me, not to use for sewing, but this was $5. And then from Hobby Lobby I picked up some more thread. I got these colors, and then these. I think the black and the ivory I already have some, but I can never really have enough of those. I use both of those quite a lot. I got this little set of buttons. They didn't have the color of buttons I was exactly looking for, so these wooden buttons I thought maybe I can paint. Then I got 2 yards of the fusible medium weight interfacing, and this one was kind of random. I picked up this box of glass beads. Because the buttons weren't exactly what I was thinking, I think maybe I might be able to use these glass beads, but I'm not sure. I'll find a use for them one way or another. But yeah, so that's kind of my haul, and then now I'm gonna get back home and get back to sewing. So once I got home from the store, I threw my thrifted clothes in the wash, and then I went digging around my fabric pile. I have a few pairs of old jeans that I've used to make patches and other things, so I grabbed those. And I also have a thrifted sheet, like a bed sheet, that I haven't been able to find a use for, so I decided to make the lining out of my project today with that sheet. So I got in my living room, put everything on the floor, and started cutting out some pieces. So my vision today was to make one of those little um, fabric baskets that I've seen all over, and they're pretty easy to make. I've made some things similar to them. I've originally got the idea from She Can Sew, and I'll put the link down below to this tutorial, but there's a lot of them out there. And halfway through this, I realized I wasn't even really following the tutorial anymore. Um, I also changed the measurements. I think that this pattern called for 10-inch squares, and I ended up doing 9-inch squares. So I cut 2 squares out of the jeans that I had, 2 squares out of the sheet that I used for the lining, and then I cut 2 squares out of a medium weight fusible interfacing. I don't know about y'all, but every time I try to do crafts or cut fabric, especially a big piece of fabric on the floor, my cats are all over me in the middle of everything. This is my cat Luna, and you'll see later, she definitely inspired what I'm working on today. I picked up some of this Pellon Easy Steam 2 feasible web, and I got this to use for appliques, but I haven't had the chance to use it yet. So I grabbed this, and then I printed off some pictures online that I liked of black cats, and I'm going to use these as a stencil to trace onto the Easy Web. So as I continue to cut this out, I just wanted to talk about how this was my first time doing applique. It was a lot of fun. I had never done it before, but I had bought the supplies earlier on, and I always buy supplies thinking, okay, great, I'm gonna, do this project this weekend, and then by the time the weekend rolls around or I actually have time to do it, something else is in my mind and I want to do something else. And so that's one of the hard parts about crafting is having so many ideas and not enough time to work on anything. With sewing especially, I find that it's just so easy to acquire a large amount of craft supplies. Besides all the notions, it's like, you buy fabric for one project and then you have some scraps left over and you maybe make something with those, but you need a little bit more fabric, so you buy some more fabric. And then now I just go into the fabric stores and I might not even have anything in mind, and I'm like, oh, I like way too much fabric, and I buy a lot of fabric. So I'm trying to really sew through my stash and work on building an inventory for my store and hopefully to sell at some in-person markets. I've been posting on Instagram and TikTok for a few months now, and I've been really surprised by the feedback and engagement I've received, and it's been more than I ever thought. And I just want to say thank you to those people who are watching and engaging with my content. I love talking to y'all, and y'all are so nice and sweet and leave the best comments, and it's been really encouraging to me. I'm curious to know what you'd like to see more of, if you're more interested in tutorials, if you like this video, if you like this sort of style of this video. Please let me know, or if you have any suggestions for things that I should do in the future, I'm open to hearing those. At this point, I realize I probably didn't want to use beads for the eyes. I was having some fun doing the applique, and I found this yellow honeycomb fabric in my stash and thought that this would be good for yellow eyes. And so I just start doing a bunch of details in applique. Instead of wasting the section of the easy steam where I cut the cat out, I went back in with my scissors and cut out some little details for the eyes. And here you can see my finished cat, and we're going to fast forward where I went through a bunch of my scraps and freehand drew a bunch of these little flowers and got them all cut out in the easy steam fusible web material. At this point, I had gotten very carried away with making my little applique stickers and getting those all together that I completely forgot about the pattern that I was working with, and realized that I forgot to cut the corners out of the bottoms of my panels because we're making this boxy sort of basket that stands on itself, so we have to do some box corners. So all I needed to do was remove 1.5 inch square from the bottom of my exterior fabric and lining fabric. When I am making things, I think so often about my waste and how to be the most resourceful and eco-friendly and sustainable. One idea I have for future videos is doing way more thrifting and upcycling. I'd love to buy more fabric secondhand, and I've been on a big secondhand kick recently. I've basically started buying all my clothes this way. At this point, I switched out my regular presser foot for the free motion foot. This is my first time using this. Before I recorded this, I practiced a little bit, and you can see I already did a little bit on the butterfly. It was definitely hard to get used to. I definitely need a lot more time with this. I actually planned on adding more details than I did, but realized how kind of hard it was. And for this, I had to change the thread out several times, and it was just taking a long time. So I was like, let's take it a little easy on this first project. Once I was satisfied with the level of detail, it was time to sew everything together, which was definitely nerve-wracking. So to do this, you sandwich the two exterior layers together, right sides together, and you do the same for the lining. And then you sew on each long edge and the bottom edge. And then you pop out the corners and sew a 1/4 of an inch seam along the corners, so you should have a box bottom. I didn't do the best job of showing this, but I didn't really intend for this to be a tutorial, and I'll link down below some good resources I used when I was sewing this. One of the feelings I've been struggling with as I work towards building up this small business is the fact that I feel in a way that I'm contributing to consumerism and this hyper consumerism culture that we have in the US and in the West. And as someone who got their degree in environmental science and works as a wildlife biologist, I feel that this is kind of a personal issue for me. But I'm trying to think about ways that, like this, if I was to make something like this and sell this, that I feel a bit better about reusing materials and using up scraps and being very resourceful with what I make. All right, and as you can see, here is our finished basket. To finish this off, we just put our two sides of the bag right sides together and then sewed up that top edge, leaving a gap to flip it inside out, and then finish sewing it off with a top stitch around the top of the bag. And here you can see some of the little details I added to the flower stems. I did the whiskers and the little butterfly trail with the free motion foot. I made this with the intention of holding some of these glass jars of my art supplies that sit on my desk. I recycle these jars and then use them to put my paintbrushes and stuff. So I just thought it would be nice to sneak a couple of those in there and just kind of make it look cute. All right, everybody. And this was the finished bag. I just got done sewing it. I was pretty happy with how it came out. There's some things I think I could have done better, but like I said before, the first time doing applique, first time ever putting the free motion quilting foot on my machine and trying that. So definitely lots more to practice. But I'm excited that, we used parts of, 2 pairs of jeans. I used a thrifted sheet that I had for the lining. And then I was able to go through a few scraps to make the flowers and things. So kind of a fun, eco-friendly project. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the first vlog. I'm very excited about this. So if you don't know, I'm trying to start a small business called Warblerswares. I'm trying to build up inventory to sell things. I paint in watercolors and I am an amateur sewist, so you should see some things popping up on there that I've made. And I'm also trying to do some local vendor artist alley kind of things. I haven't done any yet. I'm still trying to kind of build my name and my website and everything. And I'm also trying to make content on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So if you enjoy this, kind of want to follow me on my journey and create a community around crafting and art, please consider giving me a follow. I appreciate you for being here, and I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Bye-bye.